Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's July 11th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And I thought we'd start off looking at the daily chart again. You can see this channel, this blue down channel we've got going on, and then we had this green channel that appears to be trying to rally back to the trend line here, and we'd also be looking for prices to attempt a retest of this high as well. So you got a couple of things going on. We're getting really close, and prices may just trade sideways into this trend line. We could turn up here and continue to trade up, and we may even get a break of the trend line. It's not looking that way, but it's always a possibility. So we'll see if and when we get back to this trend line. We'll see if prices continue lower again. So this is a pretty bearish day. For the most part, we've got a double top here, so we could see prices go lower, but my expectation is prices are going to attempt to test this trend line, and if they can't rally to get there, they may just go sideways or even trade downward slightly to get there. So we'll just have to see how it goes, but you can see we can't really get any strong follow-through buying. We got some follow-through here on this buying spree coming up, but you can see it's not a real strong trend. It's prices are really mixed each day trying to get there. We had one nice rally day. This was a nice reversal type day, and of course this was a pretty decent trend day as well. But for the most part, they're kind of sideways mixed trading kind of days that are getting us there. So it's nothing strong, nothing that leads me to believe that, hey, this trend is over and we're going higher. Looks like to me we probably got more room to the downside. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. But there's a look at it. Let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart. You can kind of see the day. It's kind of a mixed trading, but closes bearish type day. And you'll see it here shortly. Let's just flip over there. Okay, here's a look at our 2,000 tick chart. And you can see early on we had this two-tiered channel working lower. We had a close outside the new low, which led me to think, hey, maybe we'll get a reversal here. We still continued to kind of chop sideways, and then we made another leg up before selling off and finally coming in here and making another low lower than that one. So it's possible this was a little less steep than what I drew it. Maybe it was more like this, and we didn't get a break there. It's just not a real convincing break right there. So but there is a break, and if so, it looks like we just barely make a new low there. Let me just verify that we made a new low. Just eyeballing it, it looks like we did. Yeah, we did make a new low there, and so that's what led me to think maybe we'll reverse out of here. And you can see we just we were in this pink channel here really, and on this side it just kind of moved up a point or two. You can see that the lows just kind of moved up, and so did the highs, and it's still really a continuation of this range over here. And until we finally had a breakout, which came back up and it tested these highs up here and turned prices down. We weren't really back in this range here. We just tested that previous resistance across there. So I just pulled the line so you can kind of see it right in there. But and then we turned down from there and made another two legs down, actually pushed a little lower, and then we kind of rallied into the close there. Market's been closed about 15 minutes probably. So so that's the bigger picture of the day. Just kind of mixed trading, mostly sideways. You can see there we had a really good trend down here early, and then it was just kind of sideways mixed trading. The only good part of this is the resistance was fairly straightforward. There wasn't a lot of chances to buy, but there was a few good short opportunities there. And then we broke higher, and you just didn't get much in this afternoon to really a good chance to trade this. So not many trades after about lunchtime. But anyway, let's zoom in here. We'll go through the trades, and we'll wrap this day up. 7 o'clock came just as we're kind of making this move down and bottoming out right here, and we kind of made a double bottom across here. I ended up moving this up some because our closes moved up, But if you had it drawn like this, you're not, even like this, you're technically not wrong. So, in fact, the way I have it drawn here may be more accurate. So, and you kind of see the midline playing both sides across there. But it doesn't matter how you had it. There wasn't any setups off the lows anyway, so it didn't much matter. At this point, you were paying attention to this. This is a kind of a spike and channel down here. Um, so I don't see anything in here worth. There was a second entry long right here because technically you have a new swing high right there, so you get a first entry, and that's a second entry. And you might argue that's a triple test, but this was pretty strong, and this is for the most part sideways. Um, you've already had a break and new high here, so you're not necessarily looking for prices to go higher. If you bought that, it's probably not the end of the world, but I think you're better off to wait. And you can see it doesn't go very far, so it pushes up. And we make a triple top right here. I marked that in green. Let me zoom in a little more to make this a little clearer to see. Your signal bar is definitely bearish, and it probably closes in the lower 1/3, but it's questionable. And it is a second entry short. Notice you basically have a double bottom here, so first entry, second entry. I think you're better off to wait on a reversal or at least a lower high. And the lower high comes here, and you can see it does kind of confirm that trend line down through there. Really, you could have started this trend line from up here, and this would have confirmed it. But by the time you get this next one, it's definitely, you got what you need. And I like going short on that one. And at this point, you're only looking to ride to the other side wherever you've got that marked. But it could keep going, which it does. And then we just keep trending down. I don't see anything else here I really like. You might argue there's a triple test right here, but we didn't quite get back up there to those highs. Of course, that's because you got the trend line right there, and you got to go short into a little almost double bottom down here. I just don't think you want to take that trade. It doesn't go far before you get a break, and you're really just kind of working sideways here. But notice you make a little double bottom, and you get a first entry, second entry, and that's a fairly decent signal bar right there too. Very bearish, so I like that one. And you're just looking for prices to make a new low. And they actually do. On the yellow, you see you got a break and you got a new low down here, so it is lower than the low before the break. So, but rather than rallying, yeah, we just kind of work sideways here. And again, I don't see anything down here that would tempt me to want to buy. And we do come back here. There's a lower high here, but signal bar is no good. And then we test that high once, and we test it again. It actually breaks higher and turns down. I like going short there on a triple test right off the highs of that range. That turns out to be a pretty nice move. I don't know if you probably don't get a runner on this one, unfortunately, unless you give it a little more room or something. But drops on down, and then we do get a little failed break, momentarily failed break lower, but I don't see any chance to go long there until right here. And notice you got a new low right here, and you get a first entry, second entry. So if it breaks higher right there, you've got a failure. And generally, you like this to bounce off the upper side of the EMA here. But this thing's been sideways, so you're really also playing the range, and it's a chance to get long off the bottom of the range on a failure. It's probably going to trap somebody, so you'll probably be able to at least get a scalp out of it, but we may even be headed to the other side. And we do have the break, possible break and new low here, so there's also the possibility we reverse here. But notice you do have a new swing low here. It's lower than that one, and you try to go short once, twice, so you get another failure, and that's a nice trap. It breaks lower and turns. It goes out the other side. You could actually go long on the engulfing bar, but you may wait on this one and just go long right there. And the only reason I made this one green, because it does confirm that trend line, is because we just came off the high of the lows, and the odds are we could be going back down to the other side if we're going to stay in this range. However, there's another clue that says we may at least go back and test these highs, and that's the fact that we broke lower down here below these lows and actually made a lower low than this. So there's a failed breakout here, and those often lead to reversals. So you're hoping maybe you can catch a reversal here as well. There's another higher low here, but you don't give yourself much room there. There's probably room to scalp out. It's another one you could argue maybe to be green. I'd skip that one. This one's pushing it, but this one's really, I mean, that could easily break higher and trap you and turn down. It doesn't, however. The green trend line holds, runs up here, makes an overshoot, runs down, you get a break, and just kind of chop around before you drop lower. And I don't see any reason to go long in here or to go short. You just want to sit that out, that sideways stuff. And somebody will probably say, well, wouldn't you expect a retest? Well, you had an overshoot, plus this is a failed break higher out of this range, which will usually fail. So there's a good chance you're going to get a trap here. And then when it just starts chopping up and down, there's just no way to know which way is going to win out. And you just have to kind of sit those out and just be patient. This is where you got to be patient. This is the difference between an average trader and a really good chart reader trader, is that they're more patient and they don't take these kind of trades and get chopped up. They wait. And it runs down and we bounce. It's a little too early to know that the support has risen yet, so I don't see any reason to be buying here. You've got this yellow channel working down, you have a break, and you don't really have a new low there. You do get a little trap here, but there's too much resistance to go long right there. I think you're better to wait and see if you don't get a short. And of course you do. You got a double bottom here and you get a first entry, second entry. I wouldn't take that second entry. I would wait on something better than that, because you really don't know. You got a little resistance there, but you had some here and here, and until you make it again and then get another opportunity, it's kind of hard to know. And you can kind of see here. Let me just mark this for you. This color of this channel. You have the green channel coming up. You get a break. And you try to go higher once, and then you try to go higher again, and it fails real quick. You've got at least a triple test across there. I like that one. But it drops down and comes back again, and then you could argue you got a triple test from here. You can make that high once, twice, and it's just a range. So as long as you got room, notice we did turn at the midline a couple of times there. So the key here would be, do you have enough room back to the midline? If the midline was right, or if this was right into the midline, I'd probably skip that trade. But it doesn't. It comes back, and notice we did bounce off the midline again. And the only reason I didn't mark this was because it made that new high, and that makes it suspect. It becomes timing then. It still closes inside. If you took this trade, it's one you might be aggressive with, but a lot of times what will happen is it'll break a tick or two lower, and it'll turn up and stop you out and then turn down. So whenever I see this new high, and when I say new high, notice how much higher this high is than these last few highs. That's one you want to wait on, because there's a good chance it could trap you and run up and run the stops and then turn down. And that happens a lot. And people will take this trade and say, what could I have seen? Well, that's really your only clue, is that it made that higher high there. So for some reason, it was able to get a little more strength than it did these last few times. And sometimes that will lead to one more push or even a reversal. So you got to be real careful there. You do get a lower high, but this has moved too far. That bar is huge, and you're kind of going short right into support there. I don't think you can take that one. And of course, it does bounce down here, and then you just kind of, this is all too congested, and you get chopped to pieces trying to trade that. Just be patient, wait to either get something long, a good long off the lows, or another short off the highs. And of course, we run back up here, and you get a second entry here. Notice that you got a new swing low, and you get a first entry, second entry. We're not looking for second entries, but if you get a setup and it turns out to be a second entry, well, that just gives it a little more reason to say, hey, there's two legs up there. And even though we did break higher here, notice that it's not a higher high, basically. So you may want to take that one on the second entry. It's still a little aggressive. Because you almost want to wait on the lower high or a double top or a triple test or something like that. But there's reasons to take that trade. It's a second entry. It's a very bearish bar. It's still lower than that high right there. And you can clearly see the two legs up. It looks like there's a break a close outside and a new high. So you may take that one. There's a lower high here, but that's really looking congested. It breaks on down and drops on down, but I don't think I would take that one. And again, you can't buy into this right here. But notice the new low, first entry, and it runs up, and you get a second entry short right here. It doesn't quite get back to the EMA, but you can clearly see the trend line working up there, and it closes inside that trend line. So that explains why it probably couldn't get back to the EMA. And so that's probably going to trap shorts. Even if it doesn't go anywhere, it's going to trap shorts, and you can get an easy scalp out of it most likely. And you can see that's what happens. It's still a little aggressive because it's not a great reversal, but something that you might be interested in, you might want to watch. And of course, we get the close outside, move to a new high, and then you make a lower high here. I wasn't convinced that there wasn't another trend working here, but even if it was, I don't know if this quite makes a new high. Let me just see. High is 83 there, and the high on these is 83 and a quarter. So it does not make a new high. But what I was going to say is, even if you did look at, hey, maybe this is a spiking channel, and you got another channel working up here, you could say, hey, we got a break and maybe a new high, but we didn't get a new high. But to me, I believe you got a channel with a break and a couple of swings up, and then you got a lower high right here with plenty of room back to the EMA. I like going short there. It's a little bit aggressive, but it's one you might want to take. And it only looks like one leg down, so no reversal here. Didn't get back to the EMA anyway. Drops on down. You get a close, move to a new low. It looked like we may reverse, and it just turns down. Unfortunately, there is a hidden second entry, but unfortunately, I don't think you want to take that trade. It's too big a chance that you get trapped right there. It turns out to be a really good move with a couple of legs down. And once it starts going lower, look for a measured move like the first one. You can see there we got a little bit more before a reversal before. It actually pushed a little bit lower too than that before it reverses, but clearly two legs down there. Again, I don't see any opportunity. There is a lower high here, and you could say, hey, that's a breakout pullback because there is some support across here. And you can see that little breakout pullback. But I'd want to see it test that twice, and it doesn't do it. So I just think it's too dangerous to go short right there. If you took it, and understand that it was aggressive and you took a chance that you might lose on, that's one thing. But I'm not going to mark it. And then we just chop sideways into 230. Just not much else happening there. Pretty quiet afternoon, really after lunchtime. There just wasn't much happening. It's a nice trend down, but unfortunately you just don't get a lot of setups. And we spent most of the day just going sideways. And then we went up and down. And we closed down. I mean, you can see where we closed Friday. So we closed significantly down from where we were. I mean, that looks like 38.62, 40 something points. So it's definitely a down day. And you can, if you go, even though it looks like mostly sideways, if you go look at the daily chart, we showed it to you earlier, it definitely is kind of a downward day on the daily chart. So is it an anomaly, and will we try to go higher tomorrow? We'll just have to see. The daily chart still says, hey, we got room to go higher, but prices are really struggling to do it. Let's just flip back over there one more time. But yes, you can see that this is our target is to make a new high and to reach this trend line. And that's where prices appear to be heading, but you can see how much they're struggling to get there. They're just really struggling to get there. Unlike the last time we ran up, it runs up real fast and strong. We're not even getting that now. So this thing is fairly weak, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a little trap here and see it run higher. And if we do get a trap here, there's always a possibility that we get a break of the trend line and we push higher this time. So, but at this point, I'm just looking for prices to attempt to make a new high and probably come back to this trend line. And if they don't make that, we're probably going much lower again. So we'll just have to see. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But so far, it's looked like we were going to turn down a few times and we end up going higher before it's over. And so That's still the expectation to go higher, although we're getting close to a target over here in both cases. If we don't make a new high here soon, we're going to have to break the trend line to be able to get a new high, and I see a lot less opportunity of that than I do just trying to get over to the trend line. So we'll see where it goes from here. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Hope you had a good trading day. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.